I'm Charlie Wright of Gold Derby, and today I'm speaking with Esteban Pedraza, the writer and director of the short film Bogotá Story, as part of our Meet the Experts film shorts panel. The first question I wanted to ask you was, yeah, it's you get the sense from this movie that that even though it's fictional, there is a very personal aspect to it.
Mm.
And I was curious as to what were the common parallels between the experience your family had in Colombia back in the early 90s and what the family in the short goes through.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so this is the first movie that I made in Colombia. I am Colombian. I grew up my whole life in the United States, but I've been back there so many times. My dad's lived there his whole life, and I think one of the reasons why I wanted to make it was because I wanted to connect with those memories. You know, I was there when I was a baby. I was there when it was such a turning point, such an important time in the history of Colombia. And so I wanted to even conjure or create these memories that are latent, but I don't have or can't picture. And so through the stories of my family and the stories of my parents, especially, it's exactly what you said. There's a certain truth, which was basically that my mother had the desire to go to the States. She already had residency there, and because her family had already been there for a while. And my dad was very much committed to staying in Colombia, and his all his opportunities were only there. And so I took this very real conflict that happened in my family that's actually a very, very common conflict, not only in Colombia, but in Latin America. And I think a lot of developing countries where people go to the United States for a brighter future. And so that was the let's say truthful basis of it, and then I extrapolated that into the fiction that eventually became the film.
Um, uh, what I know there's probably a lot of complications or a lot of complicating factors to what I'm about to ask here, but um, uh, I was wondering if you could just talk about what were some of the specific things that were happening in Colombia in the early 1990s that
Yeah,
forced someone like Pilar, the character in the movie, or
yeah.
your mom to want to leave and seek a life elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, so Colombia has gone through a lot of things. There was civil war for a long time. Depending on who you ask, it's kind of still going on. So there was a lot of revolutionary forces that cropped up in around the 50s and 60s that then became funded by drug trafficking. And then on top of the revolutionary forces that have their own sort of political agenda, there were the paramilitary groups that cropped up to combat them. And then at the same time, there were just drug cartels that didn't have a political idealistic aim, whose only aim was to make money from drugs. And a lot of those groups had a hold on different parts of the government. And in order to maintain that hold through fear, they they would a lot of the times have car bombs go off in the cities or certain fear tactics to just let the public and the government know that they were still in control. And so these are the types of things that were happening with frequency in a city like Bogota or the other like major cities of Colombia at the time. So not only was that going on, but you know, just in any country like Colombia, throughout Latin America, there's the daily grind of you know the an economy that is struggling sometimes, massive wealth gaps, and just like opportunities for certain people in more developed countries like the United States or Europe. A lot of those people end up taking those opportunities because there's more room for growth there. So it's extremely complicated. It's very complex, and that was just like a very surface level taste of what was going on. But yeah, that's a whole area of study for a lot of people.
Has life improved in Colombia at all since the time that the film takes place? And I know it's been several decades, but
Yeah.
has it?
Yeah, I mean, and that's another one of it depends on who you ask. There were some administrations that were able to curtail the power of these groups, but of course that came at a cost that was extremely controversial. That then led to a rebuke of that movement. And currently the president in Colombia is a gentleman who used to be part of one of the major revolutionary forces. And so that's like an interesting development. So has life improved? I would say from my sort of half foreign perspective, I think it has. But at the same time, it depends on who you ask. Some people would say it's getting dangerous again. Some people would say they're making progress. So that question plays into, again, another very complex analysis of the country.
In looking at the press kit, I was looking at all the festivals that the film had been to, and the one that just popped out to me was the Bogota International Short Film Festival.
Yeah.
And I was curious as to what was it like getting to take this film to Bogota for the city's short film festival and getting to have a hometown audience see the movie.
It was the scariest moment of my life because I obviously my whole family's from Bogota. I've grown up going there so many times, but then to tell a story that was so personal and to call it Bogotá Story and to be as much from the United States as I am from there, I had a lot of just nerves and fear around how the film was going to be received. And one of the most beautiful parts about it, first of all, was just being able to play in this incredible cinematheque that's in downtown Bogota. That's like on par with any cinematheque in the world. Incredible, incredible facility. And it was so well received, and we had a lot of buzz, and people kept coming up to me and telling me how much they loved it and how much they were hearing everyone else talking about it. And we ended up winning several awards that night at the award ceremony, including Best Actor and Best Actress, which was for me like extremely, extremely a moment that filled me with a lot of pride because for me as a director, like performance is what I value the most. And so the reception was really, really good, and it just felt validating and all that.
Have you showed the film to any members of your family, and have what has their reaction been to it?
Yeah, yeah. My family's been dying to watch it ever since we shot it, and they're very supportive and they love it and they feel it's very authentic. And so many of the things came from them. So I would hope it's authentic and beyond the family, it's like even the YouTube comments of people who are from Colombia and people who grew up in the United States who were born in Colombia and things like that. It resonates with our community so much. And it's that authenticity that I'm so proud of. So that's like, that's been one of the main things for me.
What was the most challenging scene for you to shoot for this film?
Yeah, there's a lot of challenging scenes. We shot on 16 millimeters, so the entire camera production of it was very difficult. You can't get film in Colombia. The camera that we shot was the only one of its kind that was available in Colombia, and it's highly available here in the United States. And so just the whole shoot itself was difficult. One of the most difficult scenes was the scene where they're at an outdoor restaurant and it was like raining the whole time we were shooting. But it was a drizzle, so we were able to kind of get away with it. Um, Funnily enough, we shot a scene that isn't in the film that actually was the most difficult scene to shoot. It was like a night exterior, and there was supposed to be a blackout, and so there were no lights. There were only lights on cars and stuff like that. We were also dealing with babies and babies crying and trying to calm them down when they're not supposed to cry, and then trying to get them to cry when they were supposed to cry. So yeah, that was it was tough. It was really ambitious. It was my first one in Colombia, so I didn't know anyone. It was my first time with this crew, but we were able to put together an all-star crew. Um, And yeah, I would just say it was difficult all around, but it was worth it.
Well, Esteban, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our panel in just a little bit.
Thanks.